I'm looking for a dare to be great situation. It's one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies. And it relates to me because, well, I'll explain right now. Um, okay, so a long time ago, I lived in an apartment complex and I lived with my mom and her boyfriend. And at the time, stuff wasn't perfect, but it was really good. I had some friends that I really cared about, and there was one in particular that I really loved her a whole lot. And kind of out of nowhere, um, I had to move. I had to leave. My mom and her boyfriend got somewhere else to live, another apartment, and it was pretty much out of nowhere for me. And it was a really sad time because, yeah, I was gonna have to go to a new school and pack and unpack. Um, but the worst thing for me was that one friend that I really loved a lot. Um, I knew I wasn't gonna see her again. Um, um, I tried. I tried to write to her, and I don't even know what happened. I wrote a letter, and I told her that I would look for her, that I would find her. And I wasn't allowed to give. My mom wouldn't let me give a return address, so I couldn't even get a letter back from her. And it was just a really sad time for me. I don't want to say that I've never had a good time since then, because I've had a lot of great times. I've met a lot of great people, and I really can't complain in that way. But since then, looking back a few years after that, I still missed that one friend. Um, she was really important to me, and you're talking 5, 6 years later. I'm talking about 5 or 6 years later. I'm still thinking about this girl, and I'm still thinking about how important she was and how much I loved her, and I wanted to know she was okay, and I missed her a lot. Well, a few years after that, maybe and close to 8 or 9 years after I moved from there, we moved again, and I ended up moving with some other relatives, and I pretty much, as long as I can remember, as long as I can remember, um, I always looked for her. I always tried to. I mean, I didn't know how to look for anyone. I tried to look in the phone book, but she had a really common name, so it was not happening that way. And I missed her so much. 10 years later, and I was still kind of heartbroken over her, and it wasn't even like a breakup or a bad situation. It was just we moved. So I've had some girlfriends. I've, done a lot of different things. I've been to a couple of places that were really cool, and all of that's great. But always in the back of my mind, or at least a priority, was this girl. She was always a thought in my mind. She was always. I always missed her. I always felt like I gave her a piece of my heart that I couldn't take back, and I couldn't give to anyone else. And a couple of times I did try. It was those were tough situations that I thought that I was giving them something from myself, something from my heart that I really didn't even have to give. Um, so 15 years after the last time I saw her, I was still thinking about her, still looking for her, and it seemed impossible, and I ended up not only giving up looking, but I tried really hard to just forget about it, because I figured it was just, sometimes kids hold on to stuff, and maybe that was just me holding on to something because it was a good memory. And so a few years ago, I dated a girl that was really great. She was everything I could hope for in a girlfriend. She was my first real girlfriend, and she was an amazing girl. And even though when we broke up, I was pretty heartbroken, and it was not a fun time or an easy time. Something inside me wasn't heartbroken that I was not gonna be with her. It was just I was heartbroken because I did love her and I did care about her a lot, but she wasn't the girl. She wasn't that perfect person that her imperfections make her more perfect for me. And I've dated a few people since then, and it seems to me like, looking back, that the only times that I really wanted to put an effort, well, the only times I really thought that I was serious about them were the times that I knew it wasn't going to work. Whether it was somebody who just wasn't right, someone who cheated, or someone who lied about some stuff, or whether it was someone who lived too far away, or someone who didn't actually care the way I thought they cared. And I was thinking, and I realized that I think a good part of why the few times that I thought they were going to be serious situations were times that I knew deep down that there was no chance for it to work. So a few months ago, I was looking through my old picture box, and I love pictures and memories and all kinds of stuff like that. And I found a picture of this girl and I. And just looking at her picture, looking into her eyes in this little picture from when we were both 8 years old, I remembered how much I loved her. Not that I ever forgot, but it just kind of came back. And it was really tough because every girl that I've been with or wanted to be with, or too chicken to tell them, or told them at the wrong time and ruined it, or whatever, all those situations, I never looked at them as the girl that got away. I never looked at them like it hurt, but the hurt went away completely. The girl that I liked all through high school, it doesn't kill me that she's not with me now. The girl that I liked in college, it doesn't kill me that we're not together now. They were both great girls, but I knew deep down they weren't for me. But this girl that I knew when I was 7 or 8 years old, the moment I met her, I knew she was for me. I remember the day I met her. Her little brother was running across the street, and there was a car coming, and I grabbed him, I stopped him. He was like a year or two younger than me. I stopped him from running in front of the car, and he would have been hit. He could have been hurt, and instead, I saved his life. And I know back then I was just a kid who was a year older who happened to see a car that another kid didn't see, but I always saw that as a sign, something really good. And when I did that, his sister came over, and she, as a 7-year-old who knew nothing about nothing, she was the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I remember the moment. Like, I don't remember what I said. I don't remember everything about the time, but I remember the moment I saw her. And I remember just being happy, just looking at her, and I was amazed. We got to be really great friends, and there's even a time we were hiding one day, and she wanted me to kiss her, and I didn't want to do it. It was just something stopped me, and I always remember that moment because that's how I do see her as the girl that got away, the one that I've adored from the moment I met her. And so not too long ago, actually about 2 weeks ago, I was looking on Facebook, and I was looking, just trying to find her. I mean, I tried to type her name in Google and see if I could find something. But again, she has a really, really common name, so a million people with her name came up, and not her. She was none of them, actually. And I happened to stumble upon somewhere that had her address, or an address. I actually wrote 3 letters, and I wrote one to each different address, because there's 3 addresses, and 2 of them came back, and the third one, it was her. It was her, and we talked a little bit. We messaged a little bit, and I saw a picture of her from not too long, from recently, and I want to explain this correct, because I believe that people can lie with their lips. They can talk. They can say anything, and make it sound true. I'm going to be honest with you. I get fooled easily that way. Someone says they're a good person, and I try to take them for what they say and hope that they don't disappoint. And if they do, it's part of life. And I learned not to just listen so easily, but it's how I am. It's how I want to be. People can lie with what they say, and they can ignore you, or they can pretend to do something or like something or be something that they're not, with their actions and attitudes, and they can ignore what you say, they can stop talking, whatever. But their eyes, if you can look into someone's eyes, you'll see the truth. You'll see what they're really thinking, and what they're really feeling, and who they really are. And I know this is crazy. This is nuts to me, but I saw a picture of her, and immediately she has the exact same eyes, and immediately I adored her. I adore her, and I love her, and I know it. I don't know if we'll ever be together. She actually has a boyfriend, and that it's a little scary right now. But even looking at a picture recently, I can kind of see that world, that she might be the one for me. That she might be the one that completes me, and I complete her. I don't know. I'm saying this knowing that there's a real good chance that she'll never ever see me that way. But I believe in having a great story. And I think this would be the greatest story I could tell. When I die, when I pass away, I want my kids and grandkids and friends and neighbors to look at my life and say, wow, he went through that. He waited 20 years. It was 22 years the last time I saw her. And I couldn't imagine a better story than telling someone that the first person I ever loved ended up being the last person I ever loved. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. This girl, she's grown up. She's been through a lot, just like I have. I've been through a bunch that changed me in certain ways and fixed me in other ways. But I know one thing. From the moment I first saw her, I knew I loved her. I knew I'd love her always. I knew that I'd do whatever I could to be with her. Or if not, if she ends up never being with me, I want to do the best I can to make her the happiest person on the planet. Which is making that kind of hard because it's tough to watch someone you want to be happy with you, happy with someone else. But I care about her. I care about her so much. I haven't talked to her in 20 years, and I don't think there's anyone else I've ever loved or cared about this much. Well, that's what I'm going through right now, and that's what that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that this ends up being that story that's so great that movie makers don't want to write it because they think it couldn't happen. I'm waiting for her. I just hope that I hope she's the one. And that is my dare to be great situation.